Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday. It's the 21st day of December 2022. Today is the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. From this point, the days start getting longer again and the sun stays up longer. It's also the first official day of winter. I hope you're safe and healthy and warm if you're in a cold climate today, and that your family is also healthy and safe and warm, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, and clothing, as well as health, are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field and the first responders who are out here every day trying to save lives. And those also that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks and parks and stairwells and buildings clean. Also, those that make deliveries for our convenience, and double blessings on the men and women that are trying to rescue, recover, deliver the teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of prostitution, the victims of child prostitution, the victims also of pornography and child pornography, the victims also of human trafficking and sex slavery. Double curses on all the perpetrators, all the profiteers, and those perverts that make this industry. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. There are nearly 600,000 men, women, and children, mostly children, on the streets of the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game last night. The New York Knicks avenged an earlier loss to the Golden State Warriors by destroying them in MSG last night, 132 to 94. 132 to 94. They beat the Warriors by 38 points. The Warriors were missing a couple of key players. They're missing, of course, Stephen Curry, and that's they were missing. You got to play the game anyway, but they were missing Stephen Curry. They were missing Andrew Wiggins. They were missing Dante Vincenzo. They were missing Jermichael Green. Missing some key players. Andre Iguodala, I don't count him as much because he's older. He's more of a playoff type guy. But they had Klay Thompson. They had Jordan Poole, but they got spanked. They got spanked bad. The Knicks really did a number on them in all aspects of the game. The Knicks are really rolling right now, and it's especially satisfying because if you would have saw some of the comments I saw in the beginning of the season, maybe some of you did because they were on several platforms. Some people said the Knicks are going to lose 60 games. The Knicks should blow it up and try to get Wembanyama and just tank. That was some of the foolishness that people were saying earlier. And the Knicks won't make it into the play-in, or that's as high as they'll go is the play-in. Of course, they won't make the playoffs. And then, of course, last night actually and I couldn't only listen to Barkley and Shaq and them and Reggie for a couple minutes before I just definitely muted it and started listening to some playlist stuff while I was watching the game. But I saw on Twitter that they were saying, well, now the Knicks won't make it anywhere past the first round. And I found that to be an improvement because they were saying before the Knicks wouldn't even be in the play-in. And they would be lucky to get in the play-in. So now it's going from being lucky to get in the play-in to actually acknowledging they're going to the playoffs. They just won't make it out the first round. The Knick hate is real, y'all. It is real. So let's talk about the game. It was such an efficient dismantling of Golden State last night. Randall only had 15 points and he had 12 boards and he only played 30 minutes, which is a little light for him. But that's just how, knowing that Steve Kerr, knowing that they had a back-to-back and they were playing again tonight, and so were the Knicks, he pulled his troops after the third quarter. And, the Knicks had put in, their bench unit in the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. And, that's our bench unit. We even played, he played Mihailuk about 6 minutes and Archie Diacono, but they just extended the lead. And so the Knicks, Randall played an excellent game again, 3 turnovers. He started to act stupid with the refs, but he caught himself, and that was a very positive sign. I was looking for somebody to calm him down, but nobody came to him right away. But then he calmed himself down and started playing his game. Mitch Robb played almost 30 minutes, played 29 minutes, 11 boards, 5, of course, on the offensive end, 3 steals, 9 points, plus 19, clog in the middle. I thought he would actually might have a monster game, but they were game planning for him very well. With Kevon Looney, they were trying their best, but Mitch Robb is too much for them. So, I mean, they were, and no, yeah, they put James Wiseman out for 22 minutes. And he's playing, even though he was drafted in 2020, he's playing like a rookie because I think this is the first real action he's getting since he was drafted 2 years ago. So he's starting to play. Of course, you can see the talent is there, but he's got a long way to go. He's where Mitchell Robinson was when he was a rookie. That's where Wiseman is now. The talent is there, obviously. It's just a matter of he's going to need that 2 year period. It generally takes athletic 7-footers about 2 seasons to learn how to begin to play in the NBA without fouling out. And that's common. See, that's a lot of people were saying Mitch is too foul prone because you don't understand the NBA. At the 5 spot, which is along with the point guard spot, toughest 2 positions to learn in the NBA. It takes an athletic center, guys that could jump and run very well on a high level like Wiseman or like Mitch Robinson. It takes 2 seasons at least for them to learn how to avoid foul trouble because they get tricked. They got to learn how to stay on their feet. And referees don't give them the benefit of the doubt and all of that. So they often find themselves in foul trouble. So Wiseman played 22 minutes last night. He had 5 fouls. And I'm not surprised because it's almost like he's a rookie, see? So whereas Mitchell Robinson played 29 minutes and had 1 foul. See, because Mitch Robb has learned over his time, so it's a common thing. So when I saw Wiseman play last night, I was like, oh, they're trying to bring him along, but it's going to take 2 seasons for him to learn, stay on his feet, for him to learn to control himself with discipline on defensive end. Plus, you got to learn how to call out the defenses, how to talk and make everybody in front of you, which is everybody, know what's going on behind them. So there's a lot to learn at the 5 spot. Because Mitchell Robinson, just looking at the 2 of them, I could see how much more polished Mitch Robb is after 4 seasons in the NBA. So that's very nice to see. And not only that, as I mentioned somewhere earlier, the thing is right now, in my view, only Randall and Brunson have really reached their ceiling. What you're seeing in Randall and Brunson is prime years right now. Nobody else on the Knicks has. Everybody else has upside. Mitchell Robinson has upside. R.J. Barrett has upside. Grimes, Sims, McBride, Quickley, they all have upside. And so you're going to see them get better over the next 2 seasons. And that's scary, isn't it? Being that they just won 8 straight. And this is the thing. Some people look at, well, Tom Thibodeau's finally playing the youngins. Well, I told y'all earlier, Leon helped Tom out by getting rid of certain players like Alec Burks. He moved Alec Burks on, moved Nerlens Noel on, and so now he was and he gave him Brunson. So now you know who his starting point guard was. Tom took the next step of removing Reddish, Rose, and Fournier from the rotation. And I was telling you all in the summer, Grimes is probably going to be your starter. Here we are. Okay, so it wasn't like Tom just woke up. He learned these players is now won his trust. That's the key thing with him. You got to win his trust. Rookies don't win his trust. Okay? They just don't. So last year was an aberration because of the COVID situation. But generally, rookies don't get no time with Tom Thibodeau. They come off the bench like Quickley did in his rookie year at best. And Tom won it quickly. And he came off the bench. But generally speaking, he treats rookies rough. That's just how he is. But once they go through his hell and they win his trust, those are his guys, okay? And so now you got, Barrett, Grimes, Deuce, Quick, Robinson, Sims. Those are his guys now, okay? Obi, those are his guys. And so they have won his trust, and he's going to play them. And we've all been wanting that, but it just worked out in the time it's supposed to, in Tom's timetable. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to think that they smarter coach than Thibodeau. And they never even, some of them are not even coached in high school. So this guy's a pro coach. You know what he's doing, and it's obvious now. 8 straight wins for the Knicks, 6th seed in the East. Right now, they're a game out of the 4th seed, and them and Philly are virtually tied for the 5th seed. Philly a couple of percentage points ahead, but it's going to be a dogfight from this point on. It's going to be a dogfight from this point on. So, and you're going to see other teams. Like, I want to tell y'all, man, I am watching Orlando. Orlando, I think, is going to move up in these standings this season. They also made changes, and the changes they made included starting Bo, who has now come into his own. A lot of people were scared of him because of the foot injury he had at Oregon in his last year. And big men with foot injuries are very, very risky. It's like somebody like with a back injury, like Kevin Porter Jr. So that's why everybody shied away from Bo. But now he's been in the league, starting with the G League and playing, minutes on the G League and playing with teams off their bench and everything. And now he is coming into his own. The kid is talented. Putting him in the lineup and then getting Markelle Fultz back. They actually had won 6 straight before they lost last night. They lost a tough game by 1 point, I think, to Atlanta. But they're really good. And I think they're going to move up in these standings. Right now, they're 11-21. They got a long way to go, but watch out for Orlando. They're going to be much better than people think. So I said that to say, I think there's a few teams that's below the 6th seed that's going to jockey for position above that. And the Knicks are going to be in that mix, obviously. Philly, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Boston, Milwaukee. But you got to watch teams like Toronto, who the Knicks play tonight. You got to watch teams like Miami, Atlanta, Indiana. All of these teams are fighting. And then even below that tier, that's the play-in tier. Below that tier, I'm looking at Orlando because, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. This is won 6 straight games. So I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year, not even next year. Like Detroit is more like a next year team, but I'm looking at Orlando. As long as Markelle Fultz stays healthy, when he came back, all of a sudden they started running, man. And so of all the point guards they have, he seems like that guy, And so here he comes, and here they come and then of course Paolo Banchero. My view when he was coming out of college was that he was a better version of Julius Randle. So in other words, he's Julius Randle skill-wise, size-wise, even a little bigger than Julius, but he has much more IQ than Julius, which makes him scary. I mean, very scary. And so this kid is playing his tail off. Watch out. Because I think Orlando's going to have to make some decisions with regard to guys like Jonathan Isaac, because if Bo keeps playing like this and they start rising up the standings, they're going to have to make some decisions because they got Wendell Carter, they got Mo Bamba, and Jonathan Isaac. Not everybody going to stay. So that's going to be interesting to watch. But as far as the Knicks, yes, the Knicks are really hitting their stride right now. And look, like I said, man, they proven the haters wrong. And I'm telling y'all, you ain't seen the best of this year's New York Knicks yet. That's the scary thing. They're going to lose. I see them going on some 2-game losing streaks. No more than 2, though. But they're going to go on some more winning streaks, too. You're going to see them get better. And the scary thing, and why do I say that? Because, first of all, everybody that was on this team 2 years ago is playing better now than they played 2 years ago. Starting with Julius Randle. He's playing a different brand of ball, more efficient ball, more team-oriented ball, and he's still, of course, extremely talented. So you add all that together, and we knew in the beginning of the season that he would be one of those guys that if his head was right, the Knicks would be dangerous. Well, here we are. Here we are. And then Brunson is the first real point guard that the Knicks have had in a long time. And then, of course, the changes that Tom Thibodeau made to the defense. RJ is taking that next step. Again, last night he was 8 of 19 from the field. He didn't shoot the 3 ball that well, 1 of 6. But he still finished with 18 points, 31 minutes for RJ, plus 14. I'm not worried about RJ. He's going to be fine. And the Knicks are going to be fine with him going forward. So really, Tom Thibodeau's defense starts again on the perimeter. It starts under the rim and it works out to the perimeter. His philosophy is protect the rim. He wants everybody of the mindset to protect the rim, which means if you're on the perimeter, protecting the rim means not letting people get into the paint, right? And when he made that defensive update, well, I put in Grimes and then Deuce in the rotation, that was it. That was it. That helped Mitchell Robinson a lot, and it helped the Knicks obviously a tremendous amount. Every coach has a system. Okay, every coach that's successful has a system. In the NBA, that's very common. For example, we had Mike D'Antoni as our coach several years ago. In Mike D'Antoni's system, you need a point guard. He needs a real point guard. The more talented, the better to run his speedball offense. Okay, he had Chris Duhon. And for a couple of seasons, the Knicks didn't really get a point guard for him until they went and got Raymond Felton. Now, Raymond Felton was an above average NBA point guard. We're saying he's really good as a basketball player, but in the NBA, he was above average. And in the speedball offense, this is before they got Carmelo, in the speedball offense with him and Stat, he was burgeoning all-star. Okay, so they had gotten his point guard. Then Felton was traded to get Melo. He didn't have a point guard again. And that's when you got Linsanity. He turned Jeremy Lin into something that looked like an all-star. That's what started Linsanity, okay? And that was Mike D'Antoni's system. And if you don't give him a point guard, his system's not gonna look good. That's why you had Steve Nash getting 2 MVPs in that system. But with Tibbs, he needs a rim protector. He don't care about no stretch five. He needs a rim protector, and he needs perimeter defense from his two guards at the point of attack. Okay? And he's been getting that. And that's why this is looking the way it's looking. He's getting what he needs for his system. All right? So tonight they play in Toronto. Toronto's a desperate team. They are. Toronto's desperate. They lost an overtime game. I was watching them play Philly the night before last, and they lost an overtime game to Philly. They were scratching back. Philly was really beating them earlier in the game, especially in the second quarter. Philly opened it up, but then they came storming back in the third and in the fourth, and they brought it to overtime. And they were playing without Precious Achiuwa. They're playing without who else? They're playing without Banton, Precious Achiuwa, Gary Trent Jr. And they still was battling. And so they lost, and their record right now is 13-18. They are 3-12 away from Toronto. So they're a hungry and desperate team right now. I wouldn't sleep. Of course, we can't sleep on them. This is the back-to-back for the Knicks. So it's not going to be, even though it's good that it's a home back-to-back. In this case, there's no traveling involved, but they're still missing Gary Trent Jr., Precious Achiuwa, Otto Porter Jr. They're all out, so the Knicks have a chance to come away with a victory today. Of course, you cannot take it for granted. Okay, it's still the league. They were able to crush Golden State last night, thankfully, but this is a new game, new day, different scenario, different team. Okay, good thing is the Knicks go home, they sleep on, and they didn't have to play heavy minutes last night because of the blowout. And so now they're hopefully ready to take on Toronto. Toronto loves length, man. I mean, that's them. They love length. They got a bunch of dudes with length. Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Chris Boucher. They just come at you with all kind of length. Koloko, they come at you with all kind of length, man. And so that's how they roll. They're long, athletic, and some of your favorite player, OG Anunoby, who some of y'all keep MB2K in like he should come to the Knicks when he shouldn't, but that's another thing. He's starting at shooting guard. So this is gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a battle. I like our chances. Fred VanVleet's another Knick killer. Okay, and he's there. Malachi Flynn is his backup. Malachi Flynn hasn't had the NBA impact that I thought he would have at this point. I loved him coming out of San Diego State. That year when he was drafted, I like Desmond Bane above him. I like Desmond Bane at that spot, that late first round spot. I didn't think we had a chance at Tyrese Maxey, but I thought he was better than Emmanuel Quickley. And then I liked Malachi Flynn as well. The Knicks end up obviously getting Emmanuel Quickley. And that's worked out pretty well for us. But Malachi Flynn is the backup point guard. He's a solid point guard at this point, but I thought he would be a much better scorer at the NBA level than he has shown so far. Maybe he will. It's only been a couple seasons, so maybe he will. But he's there, and we can't take nothing for granted. Okay, can't. And I don't think the Knicks will. Brunson's gonna come in here ready to play, as is Grimes, who twisted his ankle last night. But he's a tough kid. He'll be back. He said he's playing. He's playing. Brunson's leading that charge. Brunson is the tough dude of tough dudes, and everybody else is kind of following his example. So Grimes, Brunson, Deuce, that whole front line's ready to play. Mitch Rob coming. Here come Randall and RJ. We ready to go. Hartenstein and my man Superman Sims. Y'all seen him last night do work. Ready to go. Okay, here we go. For the Knicks tonight, 7:30. I think it is 7:30. They playing the Raptors. Pretty sure that's what it is. They're playing the Raptors at 7:30 tonight. I think it's the League Pass game. So let's go Knicks, baby. So.